Famous Visitors to Halifax, Part 1. Good day, friends. Harry Facks here, your Victorian guide to Halifax's hidden history. From the cobbled streets of our town have walked some of the most extraordinary figures in British history. Authors who shaped literature, composers who defined music, and even one notorious plotter whose name echoes through the centuries. Join me as we uncover 5 remarkable visits that span 300 years of Halifax's story. These aren't just tales of famous faces passing through, these are the moments when greatness touched our town. Let's begin our journey in the Tudor age, with a man whose name became synonymous with rebellion. Guy Fawkes. The name alone conjures images of gunpowder, treason, and plot. But did you know that the most infamous conspirator in British history once studied right here in Halifax? In the late 1500s, after attending school in York, young Guy Fawkes came to Halifax to continue his education, if only for a short time. He studied under the tutelage of Mr. Maud at the predecessor to Heath Grammar School, which had only been founded in 1585. How do we know this remarkable fact? It comes from Dr. Barwick's funeral sermon on Bishop Morton, which specifically states that Guy Fawkes was a schoolfellow of others who studied here after his time at York. Now, Guy Fawkes wasn't a Halifax boy by birth, but as the Dean of Lichfield noted in 1909, though his name is rarely celebrated here, it is in a plot more than anywhere else. Little did Halifax know that this student would go on to attempt the most audacious act of terrorism in British history, the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. But that's a story for another day. From Tudor rebellion, we leap forward to the age of adventure and literature. Our next famous visitor was Daniel Defoe, author, journalist, and one of the fathers of the English novel, and he had quite the connection to Halifax. In 1703, Defoe found himself in rather unfortunate circumstances. He'd been sentenced to public humiliation in London, 3 days in the pillory for writing pamphlets criticising Queen Anne and her government. After his release from Newgate prison, he felt compelled to leave London behind. So Defoe embarked on a nationwide tour, which he later wrote about extensively. And in 1705 and again in 1712, he visited Halifax, where, I'm pleased to report, he received a much warmer welcome than he'd gotten in London. Defoe stayed at the Rose and Crown, which stood on the corner of Southgate and Cheapside. This wasn't just an inn, it was a commodious establishment with stables, a coach house, and comfortable rooms. And here's the remarkable claim. It's regularly been said that Daniel Defoe wrote part of his masterpiece, Robinson Crusoe, right here in Halifax while staying at the Rose and Crown. During his visits, Defoe worshipped at the Northgate End Unitarian Chapel, which stood at the end of Northgate, roughly where the bus station is today. The chapel was demolished in 1871, but Defoe's words about Halifax live on. He wrote extensively about our town and the surrounding countryside, documenting the industrial energy and character of the place. The Rose and Crown itself became a Whittaker's pub and stood until 1956 when Marks and Spencer's bought it for expansion. The building was demolished in 1958 and the site was recently occupied by Wilko's. Next, we recall the times Halifax was home to Emily Bronte, author of one of the most passionate and powerful novels in English literature, Wuthering Heights. But few realized that the seeds of that dark, brooding masterpiece may have been planted right here in our corner of Yorkshire. In 1837, at just 19 years old, Emily Bronte took up a position as a teacher at Law Hill House in Southowram. This wasn't a happy time for young Emily. She was constantly harried by the work, teaching from early morning until 11 at night, with only a half-hour break. Law Hill had been established as a school in 1825 by the Patchett sisters, women of substance and breeding who ran a finishing school for young ladies. By the time Emily arrived, it was well established, though demanding. Emily's employment period is uncertain. Varying accounts suggest anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. What we do know is that she admitted to preferring the family dog to the ladies in her charge. She became fascinated, even captivated, by a local story. A servant at Law Hill, confidently named Earnshaw, told her of a feud with his family. It is almost certain that here was sown the seed for Wuthering Heights. The Earnshaw name, the Yorkshire setting, the dark family conflicts, all may have originated from Emily's unhappy but creatively fertile time in Southowram. During her stay, Emily regularly attended Sunday worship at St Anne's Church, Southowram, along with Miss Patchett and the other girls. The association deepened when Miss Elizabeth Patchett married the incumbent vicar, the Reverend John Hope, on December 27, 1842, leading to the closure of the school at Law Hill. Emily Bronte was never really happy at Law Hill, but perhaps that unhappiness gave the world one of its greatest novels. From the windswept moors of literature to the concert halls of Europe. Another visitor was Franz Liszt, one of music's all-time greats, the Hungarian pianist and composer who had studied under the legendary Salieri and Czerny, who had played for Beethoven himself as a child. And in January 1841, this musical prodigy came to Halifax. Liszt was touring throughout Europe, already celebrated as one of the most innovative composers and virtuoso pianists of the 19th century. His tour of Britain in 1840–41 was highly anticipated. On December 15, 1840, Liszt stopped at Hebden Bridge, breakfasting at the White Lion Inn while travelling from Dover to Liverpool and Ireland. But his Halifax performance was 6 weeks away. On January 29, 1841, Franz Liszt performed at the magnificent Oddfellows Hall on St James's Road, later known as the Alhambra. This impressive building, constructed in 1840 in classical style, could hold between 3,000 and 4,000 people. The concert was arranged by Joseph Henry Frobisher, a Southowram man who was just 27 years old. Frobisher was the organist at the parish church and leader of Halifax Choral Society, perhaps the greatest 19th century musician Halifax produced. Frobisher may have actually met Liszt years earlier when the young composer stayed in the same house during a visit in the 1820s. Sadly, despite the musical brilliance on display, Liszt's British tour was a financial failure. He lost much money on the venture. But for one night in January 1841, Halifax witnessed one of the greatest pianists who ever lived. Now, from musical genius to literary celebrity. Charles Dickens, the most famous novelist of the Victorian age, creator of unforgettable characters from Oliver Twist to Ebenezer Scrooge. And on September 18, 1858, exactly 100 years before a local newspaper commemorated the event, Dickens came to Halifax. Dickens was touring the country giving public readings of his novels, a theatrical performance that combined his literary genius with his love of the stage. These readings were enormously popular and highly lucrative. On that September evening, Dickens appeared at the Oddfellows Hall, the very same venue where Franz Liszt had performed 17 years earlier. The hall was packed with eager listeners as Dickens read from his beloved A Christmas Carol. The Halifax audience was captivated by his performance. Dickens was a masterful reader, bringing his characters to vivid life with different voices and dramatic gestures. But I must confess, dear friends, that Charles Dickens was not impressed by Halifax. His verdict on our town? It is as horrible a place as I ever saw, I think. Harsh words indeed, but perhaps the industrial grime and smoky atmosphere of Victorian Halifax didn't suit the great author's sensibilities. We can forgive him. After all, he gave us A Christmas Carol, and for one memorable evening, he brought that magic to our town. And there we have it, friends. 5 extraordinary visitors across 3 centuries of Halifax's history. From Guy Fawkes the plotter to Charles Dickens the storyteller, each left their mark on our town's rich tapestry. Our journey isn't over. In part 2, we'll meet even more legendary figures, sporting heroes, death-defying escapists, Wild West showmen, and fearless suffragettes. The story of famous visitors to Halifax continues. Until then, I remain your faithful guide through Halifax's hidden history, Harry Facks.